and welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us for what promises to be another very informative week on this program. As you know, every chance I get, not only in terms of profiling what still are new ministers, new government ministers, but apart from simply profiling them, I like to bring them on to tell you about the work that their ministries are doing, especially in the cases of new ministries, or I should say, what is a new ministry to us here in Guyana. Today, the focus is on the Ministry of Business. Of course, like I said, it is new to many of us, so we want to know what that's all about, what it's intended to do, why it really was created. And this is, of course, different from what we would have had in the past, a Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. Instead of combining all, we now have a Ministry of Business. Apart from that, also coming up a little later on in the program, I will be chatting with Miss Guyana World, that's Miss Lisa Punch, who will be here to tell you about her work in terms of her suicide platform as she prepares for that international pageant. So lots happening on today's program. First off, let's get to the Ministry of Business, and it is my pleasure to, for the first time, introduce to you on this program Mr. Dominic Gaskin, the Honorable Dominic Gaskin. He is the Minister of Business. Welcome, sir, and thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much, Malika.
Okay, good. You're welcome. The first big question, sir, for those who are still trying to understand and learn about what seem to be new ministries, what is the Ministry of Business designed to do for Guyana?
If one were to go by the official gazette, the areas of responsibility of the Ministry of Business are investment promotion, export promotion, sustainable development, and workforce enhancement. That probably doesn't mean a lot to the average person out there. Basically, our job is to ensure that Guyana becomes a good place to do business. That entails ensuring that the environment in which we do business in Guyana is more conducive to operating businesses and to making profits. And to that extent, one of our major challenges is to improve Guyana's ranking in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business ranking, which now has us up at place number 124 out of, I believe it is 170 approximately countries. But we don't want to get into too much detail here. I'm running away from you. So that, in a nutshell, is what our job is, to bring in to Guyana more foreign investments, to actually promote more local investments. I've mentioned export promotion, and we want to run away from relying on the same set of primary products that we've been exporting for the last 50 years, last 100 years even, to bring in, the bulk of our foreign earnings. So we would like to expand our manufacturing sector, diversify our manufacturing sector, so that we can be adding value to the primary products that we've been exporting, and creating jobs, more skilled jobs, introducing new technologies and other innovative approaches to production into our economy, so that we can be, especially if we look at now the situation we're currently facing, where commodity prices are low and Guyana is facing, it's impacting adversely on our economy. If we had a well-developed manufacturing sector that was exporting and earning, bringing in foreign earnings, that could have cushioned the effect of the low commodity prices around the world. So we need to to diversify our economy, and we need to find a way to encourage more investments into the value-added sectors of our economy.
A lot said, Minister Gaskin. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is you mentioned promoting foreign investments for Guyana. One of the challenges that there may be with that is unfortunately, the current crime rate that we have in Guyana. How do you intend to deal with that challenge that would be definitely posed to your ministry? And are you, in some way, do you plan to work along with the Ministry of Public Security to fix that, in a sense?
Yes. Well, as you know, the Minister of Public Security, or the Ministry of Public Security, has responsibility for fixing that particular
Yes.
problem. My job is to ensure that I don't send the wrong signals. We need to let our investors know. We want them to know the truth, but we also want to ensure that how the information is packaged is not, it's not done in a way that alarms investors. I don't think our crime rates are the highest in the world. We're not the murder capital of the world. In fact, I think our murder rate is lower, is fairly low compared to a lot of countries in the Latin American, even Caribbean region. But because of the sensational aspect of it, and because of in a way it is reported, which is how I believe the media has a duty
their job, yes.
Yeah, they have their job to do. But I don't think any murder is one too many. And I'm starting to talk about murders. I thought I was here to
I'll
do
bring you
business,
back to business just now.
But really, it's the job of the Minister of Public Security, and my job is to promote Guyana as a good and safe place to do business.
Okay. All right. You talked about our local manufacturing sector too. What are some of the challenges that you feel is or has in the past prevented that sector, the manufacturing sector, from going to a level whereby it would, in a sense, also promote foreign investment for Guyana?
There are a number of reasons. I believe, first of all, we're a small economy, so we don't have an opportunity for manufacturing companies to develop by using the local market to start off with and then expanding from there. The local market is not large enough for many types of manufacturing industries to actually practice on, so to speak. If you have a large population, a large economy, you can start a manufacturing, you can manufacture almost anything, and your local economy can absorb most of your production until you get to a stage where you can now start to expand into the global economic space. We don't have that opportunity. So to really set up a successful manufacturing facility or business, you really have to rely on the export market to sustain your business. And that means becoming familiar with the export market. As let's say, a young entrepreneur in Guyana, how do you gain that exposure that would allow you to confidently go out beyond the shores of Guyana and try to market your product or to even produce something that competes with all the other products in that category out there. It's difficult to start, but I believe with the types of linkages today, with the the easy access to information provided by the internet access now, I think a lot of our entrepreneurs and business persons are more exposed to international best practices and can easily find out what the requirements of the market are, and therefore, I think what then needs to happen here, there needs to be some incentive given for local businesses to invest in manufacturing as opposed to invest in, let's say, retail, for instance.
Okay.
So I believe the incentive regime and the strategic planning, some amount of strategic planning needs to go into developing a much stronger manufacturing industry.
All right. As you talked about entrepreneurs and so on, it took me back to something that His Excellency, the President, Brigadier David Granger, has always said, that we need to move to a stage in Guyana whereby we don't necessarily have people coming out of high school and university and so on and going into the private sector, into the public sector, the public service, to look for jobs. We need to be creating some of our own entrepreneurs and helping them to develop and getting them to that stage. Now, is there anything that your ministry can do to help in creating and promoting young entrepreneurs within our country?
I think there's a lot that we should be doing. It's one of the objectives of our 5-year strategic plan that we're currently developing. And that is to find a way to promote a whole new culture of entrepreneurship in Guyana.
Okay.
And one that, as I mentioned before, sees entrepreneurship not as something limited to opening a small business in Guyana, but we want to promote ambitious entrepreneurship where, if you're young, if you have ideas, if you dream, there must be a way to realize those dreams and those ambitions, especially if you're innovative enough. And we want to really showcase a new breed or generation of young entrepreneurs who understand how things work outside of Guyana, how businesses operate outside of Guyana, who have, like I said, the confidence to navigate through the whole global economic space and get whatever it is they're selling out there, competing with the best that there is in the world. There's no reason why we can't dream those dreams, why our young school
graduates,
students or anyone, can't have those dreams. And there should be no reason why, having conceived of an idea, why there should be any impediments to developing that idea. Obviously, financing is a major issue.
Yeah.
So we need also, entrepreneurs need to understand not just how to access markets, but how to access finance, how to finance their projects, how to get investors involved. It's all part of the deal, and I think we need perhaps some inspirational guidance, from successful and pioneering entrepreneurs who can perhaps share some of what they have learned, with our people, because we need a little exposure. We need to have perhaps a Zuckerberg or something, someone like that come down here and rub shoulders, It's very inspirational, It does build enthusiasm, and it really drives home that, look, I can make this work. This can actually happen as long as I develop it and as long as I'm prepared to put in the effort. It can become my reality. That's the sort of thinking we want to create, at an early age too.
Okay, understood, sir. Viewers, if you're now joining us, of course, this is Facing the Nation. Today, I am chatting with the Minister of Business, the Honorable Dominic Gaskin. Of course, there are lots more to get to, and coming up a little later on, as I remind you, I'll also be chatting with Ms. Guyana World, Lisa Punch, who is already here. Minister Gaskin, let's talk about the Business Expo that's coming up very soon. How have preparations differed from the preparations we would have seen in previous years when it comes to preparing for what we call Guy Expo?
Right. Well, Malika, as you know, Guy Expo has been deferred to May of next year. In commemoration of our 50th anniversary, we thought we'd have a bigger Guy Expo. And because of the short time that we would have had we had a Guy Expo this year, which may have not taken place until perhaps October or even November, then to have another one in May would not have necessarily, been practical. So we deferred Guy Expo until May, but nevertheless, we wanted to ensure that those businesses, especially small businesses who have become dependent on Guy Expo for, to generate some earnings leading up to Christmas, we thought we would create or try to replace Guy Expo with some event that provided the opportunity for small businesses to earn an income, and to also to showcase their products or services to the broad audience that they would normally get at a Guy Expo. And it was that thinking that led us to where we are now, which is we've launched Business Expo 2015, and it's going to take place at the end of November 27th, 28th, 29th. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the gist of it is really that it's primarily designed for small businesses. It does not mean that we're excluding larger businesses. I think what we've managed to do so far is to get some larger companies interested, but from the perspective of actually sponsoring some of their suppliers who are small businesses to attend Guy Expo, to exhibit at Guy Expo. That's the sort of thinking behind it, because we don't want to hold Guy Expo, as it has been done in the past. My personal feelings are that Guy Expo became more of an entertainment focused event, a big party. And even though a lot of business was conducted, I don't think there was enough focus on business development per se. It was more a question of getting as many people inside there as possible, charging them a fee and making money.
So we can look forward, aside from what you've explained about us having Guy Expo in May of next year to help to celebrate our 50th independence anniversary. So it is fair to say that there may be some changes in future when it comes to hosting the Guy Expo event.
Yeah, I would definitely want to rethink the whole model.
Okay.
And to maintain or to change it into a more business focused event, where the primary objective has to be showcasing Guyanese goods and services to foreign investors and businesses. That has to be the primary objective. And also, I believe we do need to boost the, to use it as a way of bringing up small businesses. So we're showcasing the new small businesses that have never had a chance to show what they can do, to exhibit to a large, target market. We're also providing an opportunity for them to sell their goods, also to get some useful feedback on the quality of what they have to offer, and to compete with other exhibitors and get accustomed to, competition. So, and I think that's sort of the focus. We have a committee that is actually dealing with Guy Expo 2016. We're still actually working on what is the right model. We wanted to get Business Expo looked after first. That was a
Understood.
priority. So we're still tweaking the concept of Gaia Expo 2016.
Finally, before we come off of the topic of exposition, would it be feasible ever to have Gaia Expo and a business expo? Instead of doing away with, of course, the expo for the business expo for small businesses, of course, as you explained, instead of doing away with that and having Gaia Expo alone, would it ever be feasible to have both of them in the same year?
You mean you're asking me whether we can do
We
two
can do
separate
both.
events?
Yes, in a year.
I don't see why not, actually. If we have something to promote, then we should be actively promoting it.
Mm-hmm.
So the short answer is yes.
Okay.
But it has to serve a purpose
Ah.
that has to do with economic development and business development and local goods and services, promotion of local goods and services. If it can serve that purpose, yes.
Okay, all right. If I can just take you back just for a bit, you talked about the importance of us garnering foreign investment and so on. As we speak, are there, and I know you recently traveled abroad, are there, if you can make it public, because I know some of these issues are very sensitive, as we speak, are there any major investments, major new investments that Guyanese can probably look forward to at this point? And of course, specifically business persons and probably the private sector who also depend on these, in a sense, not depend on, but look forward for these foreign investors.
That's a tricky question because I don't know what your definition of major. I mean, we've just discovered oil. That's major.
Apart from the oil, new ones, new keyword,
that's
new.
Fairly new. No, while I say no, you have to understand too that major investors don't just walk up to a country or walk into a country and say, well, I'm ready to do business. If they believe or feel that this is a place that they want to consider as a venue for investing, I believe there's a process that they themselves would go through to ensure that this Guyana indeed, meets the requirement of what they have in mind. There's some financing to arrange, and in other words, any major investment project takes a considerable time to get from the conceptualization to even someone walking in here with a briefcase and actually putting a proposal or asking for a meeting. So we would like to think that we are sending all the right signals as a new government.
Okay.
And that if we continue to do so with a focus on good governance, transparency, fairness, as you said, the crime situation, if we can address that and make that less of a factor or less of a deterrent. I think if we do all those things right, I do believe that we'll get some traction when it comes to major investments taking place in Guyana.
Okay, all right. Sir, two things before I have to let you go, because I know you have a very busy schedule. The Ministry of Business, in terms of working along or facilitating the private sector, how much work do you actually have to do, or how much collaboration do you have to do with Guyana's private sector? Because we know that's very important to us.
A lot. Some of it is structured in terms of actually engaging the representative bodies such as the Private Sector Commission or the various chambers of commerce. But a lot of it is simply one-on-one interactions with local businesses and even some foreign businesses who are coming in here or who operate here. And that, we are doing a lot of that. I meet with business persons every day, multiple meetings, for various reasons. And I personally do my best to promote Guyana as a good, sound place to invest, as a place that has undergone a change of government, and that has a government that has an understanding of the challenges that the private sector here in Guyana operate under, and that also recognizes the fact that the private sector is the main contributor, or has to be the main contributor of the revenues that government requires in order to carry out its developmental plans and programs. So without private sector tax revenues, all the social programs that the government is pursuing won't be funded. So we have to recognize that, and I think we do. This government does, and that's why there's a Ministry of Business. And part of the job is to reassure the private sector that this government understands the key role that the private sector has to play, and is willing to engage the private sector in a constructive way to ensuring that their job is easier to do, that any of the hindrances and deterrents to them making profits in Guyana that are created by anything that the government is doing, that we are prepared to look and try to address those, and to ensure that they have a much smoother run, that they don't waste time trying to transact business with the government. And so therefore the general signal is that government has to be a lot more responsive to the interests of the private sector and the well-being of the private sector. And I think we're doing a good job in communicating that to the private sector.
Okay, sir. Before I ask my final question, I'd like to give you an opportunity to place anything out there that you would like the public to know regarding the Ministry of Business, because again, we understand that it is a new ministry and people are still trying to understand all the functions and what it really is responsible for. Is there anything else that I would have probably missed that you'd like to put out there regarding the work that your ministry is going to, has already begun?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that you missed, except we didn't speak about Go Invest. And I think it would be remiss of me to sit here for nearly an hour, or at least half an hour, and not say something about the state agency that is going to be the major promoter of Guyana, or the opportunities that Guyana has for investment to the rest of the world. Go Invest, as you know, is our the only single state investment promotion agency.
Yes.
And its mandate is for export promotion and investment promotion. And one of the things that we would like to see within the 5 years that we, within our 5-year term in government, is for Go Invest to become, one of the major investment promotion agencies in the region. Most countries have an investment promotion agency in some form or the other. It's a very competitive game. Every country is going after the major investors, trying to get them to come into their country, bring their dollars into their country. So it's competitive, and we need to get Go Invest up to scratch. If you go on the websites of some of these agencies operating in other jurisdictions, you're looking at really high-level performance, and a strong presence, a strong and aggressive presence outside of their countries.
Yeah.
They're operating in territories where the markets are, where the investors are. And we need to get Go Invest up to that level of functionality.
What will it take to get it up to that level?
Well, it starts with leadership. It starts with leadership. We have, there is a new board in place, and there are currently measures being taken to recruit a new CEO.
Okay.
And just to, if I can speak a little about that,
Sure.
the recruitment process that we are using is via a recruitment agency, a firm, an independent recruiter. I believe that that is important for people and for businesses to know and to understand because it provides for a transparent process. It gives the board a basis for its selection. The firm provides or drafts the terms of reference with input from the board and then proceeds to advertise the position, to select, to evaluate the respondents to the advertisement, and then recommend to the board a short list for selection. I believe that process is very important. We're dealing with business, and if we're telling businesses and investors that, look, this is a country with good governance and transparency when it comes to how we do business, I think we also need to show and demonstrate that when we make appointments to very critical positions, even though it's a state agency, that we as a government are prepared to subject that process to or to make that process a transparent and open and inclusive process.
Understood, sir. Finally, before I let you go, I think in all fairness to the public and especially to our viewers, it would be criminal for me to have a minister on this program in this climate and not ask him, it will be criminal to the viewers, of course, and not ask him about the recent government increase, the salary increase for ministers and some other government and officials. Minister Gaskin, the public they're upset. They're angry right now. They believe that the salary increase for government ministers came at a wrong time. What would you say to those viewers, those citizens, public servants who are angry, saying that, they should have come at a time when we all can benefit, all public servants can benefit from a salary increase, and they're saying that it is too much for the ministers? What would you say to, in a sense, calm and quell the fears and the frustration of those citizens?
Well, I think I would say a number of things. One, this government has demonstrated, I believe, that it is capable of making tough decisions and also of making decisions that are not necessarily going to be popular. I think it's important, if we are to develop our country and are to really address some of our long-term developmental issues, that we have a government that is capable of making decisions that are not popular. We can make popular decisions, crowd-pleasing decisions every day. At the end of the day, I don't think it will serve Guyana's long-term interests. So the point being that if we're looking at having good leadership, I think that leadership has to be adequately compensated. I believe this issue actually arose because of irregularities in the way the salary structure between various levels of ministers and prime ministers and vice presidents and all of that. So we had some unusual situations where vice presidents and ministers and junior ministers were all earning the same. And then we had an attorney general who was earning nearly 3 times as much as a minister and more than the prime minister. And we'd asked for some recommendations on how this, the whole thing can be regularized. And we received some recommendations and we approved those recommendations. Again, I don't believe that you can get good leadership unless you're prepared to compensate that leadership. I also believe that people have a right to express their views. I think it's very important that they do. I think if people feel that the government has done something that they're not happy with or not satisfied with, I personally welcome the fact. Yes, I do, because I think it's a good sign. I think we want civil society to be actively involved in the business of running this country. Having said that, like I said, we are prepared to take tough decisions that may not always be the most popular. And we are prepared, of course, to deal with the criticism and the consequences of those decisions. This is a 5-year government, and I would say to anyone who feels in any way disappointed or angry at the salary increases, give us our 5 years and then judge us by what we have achieved and what we have done in our 5-year term. It is a 5-year term. If you feel at the end of the 5 years that, look, these guys have just taken us for a ride, then, we know what, the next step
what
is.
The consequences
what the consequences are. But I don't think we'll get to that stage, because I have confidence that we have a government in place that understands the priorities of a developing country and has the competence, the integrity, and the vision to actually move this country forward, finally.
Well, I did say to some of the viewers last week, to whom much is given, much is required. And I know that the public will not only require much from the current government, but they will demand much from that. And as you said, those are the things that we really are grateful for, because government wants all of Guyana to be involved in governing our country and moving it forward. That said, Minister of Business, I'd like to thank you very much for being on Facing the Nation. I know the public indeed did get a lot out of you, and I expect to have you back sometime in the near future to talk about more business ventures, and of course, as you move the Ministry of Business forward. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for that.
All right, great. Minister of Business, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, the Honorable Dominic Gaskin. This is where I'll take a quick break. When I come back, I'll be chatting with Miss Guyana World, Lisa Punch. Stay with us. Of course, this is Facing the Nation. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us, especially those of you who are now joining us. I'm really sorry, but you missed a really mouthful, a real mouthful from the Minister of Business, the Honorable Mr. Dominic Gaskin, as he spoke about his ministry moving forward and serving Guyana. But now it's time for the lighter side of today's program. This young lady has been in your living rooms. She's been everywhere, in your kitchens, in your bedrooms, from the time she was about, I think it was about 10 or 11. She'll correct me if I'm wrong there. She's no stranger. I refer to her as one of Guyana's ambassadors because she's an ambassador in a way that many of us cannot be. Lisa Punch is everywhere. I don't think there's any Guyanese, real, true Guyanese, whether you're living here or abroad, who does not know the name and the person Lisa Punch. She does everything. She sings, she dances, she models. I can even tell you she was once on a campaign platform, but don't tell anyone I told you that. So it is my pleasure for the first time to welcome Miss Lisa Punch on this program. Lisa, welcome, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Malika.
Right, and congratulations on being Miss Guyana World.
Thank you.
All right, we know that you will do us proud. You continue to do us proud. No one will ever forget that show. I'm trying to remember the actual
Rising
name
Star.
of the show, Rising Star, because
Yeah.
and Guyanese are so tricky. They're so tricky. From the time Lisa Punch got voted off of that show, people stopped watching the show. I mean, and I guess that is to show that we are really dedicated to our people and what our people do, and we get really, really emotional. So I think that's one of the reasons I actually forgot the name of the show, because the fact is I was only a fan of the show because Lisa Punch was on the show. Lisa, now you have not coming off of music, but you've added something onto music. And of course, this is pageantry. But apart from talking about the pageant in itself, you have been very passionate about suicide, not only suicide in Guyana, but suicide worldwide. I can remember the first time I heard you talking about it, incidentally on a political platform. I got goosebumps because you seemed so passionate about it. But my concern, however, is we see queens, pageantries, local queens. We see local queens coming up with these platforms, whether it be suicide, whether it be teenage pregnancy, child abuse, domestic abuse. We see all of these things, and then when the pageant is done, it's like, okay, what happened to that queen who was so passionate about teen pregnancy or whatever? And I am not, viewers, don't get me wrong, I'm not being specific about any past queens. I will never do that. Lisa, why should Guyana follow you now in terms of your platforming when it comes to suicide? Why should we? How do we know that you are dedicated to stay the course with this issue?
Well, the first thing is, thank you very much for having me on your program.
You're welcome.
And the thing is, POTS Guyana, Prevention of Teenage Suicide Guyana, it's an organization that I started since last year, way before the pageant. And in February, when I was in Guyana for Matrimony, I went around, when school opened, I went around to various schools, and I would talk to them about it, give them motivational speeches and things like that. And it's something that's happened before, that started before the pageant, and it will be there after the pageant. And the only reason I decided to do the pageant is because of suicide prevention and the cause. And Miss World is an organization that allows you to beauty with a purpose. That's the name of the platform. Instead of saying platform, you say beauty with a purpose. And that's my Beauty with a Purpose project, and it allows you to take that cause and fight for that cause to help reduce whatever it is that is going on in your country. And whenever you win that segment of the pageant, the Miss World organization actually helps you. They help you with that in your country. They come to your country, they see what needs to be done, they bring people in to help with it and stuff like that. So that is, and apart from the talent segment, so it's Beauty with a Purpose and the talent segment that actually made me do the pageant.
Because we know that you are, I mean, some people don't like to use this word to describe a person, a human being, but the fact is, we know that Lisa Punch, the name Lisa Punch, I think it has moved to a brand now. The brand Lisa Punch, it's an idol in itself. So there will be a lot of teenagers who are going to be following you and they're going to be listening to you. so far, how have they responded to? Because
Yeah.
the thing is, we have teenagers who have a whole lot of problems,
Oh,
but they're
they
not
do.
going to open up to any older person.
Mm-hmm.
How, and I don't mean any old as in old viewers. I have to be very, very
I
careful with our
know.
viewers. They're very sensitive. How have they responded to you in terms of opening up? Do they feel like you really are doing beauty with a purpose?
Well, we've been to 27 schools thus far. And when I say we, I mean POTS Guyana, Prevention of Teenage Suicide, the organization, our members. We've been to 27 schools thus far. And we've partnered with the Ministry of Public Health and the GPHC mental health team. They trained us on suicide awareness, the things we should say and shouldn't say. So we were trained and we've been in the schools and we've been speaking to so many young persons and they have so many problems, and it's crazy that you wouldn't even believe that a child at the age of 14 would be going through something like that, and it breaks your heart. So what we do is whenever we can't handle a case, we would refer it to JPHC, and they've given us that, they've extended that to us to refer the cases that are very severe to GPHC. So we're very fortunate to have that as well, and they're opening up to us because we ask the questions when we go to the schools. We say, how many of you are happy today? How many of you are happy to be alive? And we say, how many of you are not happy? How many of you are not happy to be alive? And some of them may be ashamed to put their hands up. And we let them know that, listen, it's okay, you need the help. And if your friends are laughing at you, it's because they need the help. They need help as well. And I let them know too that it's not their fault that they're laughing when things like that, when you see your friend need help, because it's a cultural flaw that we have as Guyanese. We laugh at things that is supposed to be serious. So I let them know that we as a generation, we have to change it. You have to change the thinking from here, and we have to help our brothers and sisters. We have to be our brother's keeper, things like that. So they feel comfortable when they hear that, and many of them, they raise their hands up, and then our members go to them and talk to them. And when some cases that some of them would just want to speak to me, I would go and I would speak to them after giving the talks with the entire school. I would go and talk to that child one-on-one and help them. And, it's such a relief when you see them smile at the end, like, yes. And, you feel good.
Yeah, and they've gotten it out.
Yes.
The weight lifted.
And they know that there is a light at the end of the road.
All right. So before we talk about other things, so for clarity, what the public should know is that there will be a POTS Guyana even after the Miss World
definitely, because there was a POTS Guyana before the Miss World pageant.
So good. It's not the case really. So we just put it aside and go back on to her music. What motivates you to be so passionate about teen suicide?
Well, the thing is, growing up, I've always been, I don't know if it's because I'm the oldest, but I've always been this mother
Take
type.
charge.
Yeah,
Understood.
always in charge. And kids, even older than me, would come to me and ask me for advice, and many of them would be going through a lot. And there's this young lady that I've been mentoring for 3 years now, going on to 4. And I've been talking to her, I got her the help that she needed as well. So to see her move from where she was to where she is right now really moved me, and said, what, if I can do it for her, I can do it for so many others. So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
All right, let's talk about the other things now,
Yes.
if you want to call it the glamorous side of things. You're going to be in a pageant.
Yes.
This is not Miss Guyana Universe, not to reduce the status or the standard of Miss Guyana Universe. This is not a simple Miss Guyana pageant. This is Miss Guyana World. You're going into the Miss World pageant.
Yes.
I know you have had a lot of experience, especially in recent times, in the recent years, on the international scene, functioning, working, living
Yes.
abroad. But are you in any way not only nervous, but intimidated by the experience and the different cultures that women, young ladies like yourself, will bring from other parts of the world to this pageant, because that is big.
I know.
How great is the pressure right now?
I mean, I am not intimidated. I guess I am a bit nervous, and I'm not nervous because of what the other girls have to bring. They have to play their parts. They're training for a pageant, and they're bringing their best game forward. And I'm just bringing Lisa, doing what I know to do best, and do it to the best of my ability, go in and be confident. And I'm very excited to meet them and to share various cultures and, things like that, getting to know them, but not putting aside the fact that it is a competition. And and I know that it is a competition. So definitely I've been training the Guyana Swimming Association. I've been swimming with them. Ewan has been my swimming instructor. I've been doing Dance of the World, because there's Dance of the World segment in the Miss World pageant. Beverly Cyrus, who has been my dance teacher for as long as I can remember, she's training me for that segment of the competition. For my walk, I'm being trained by Rhea and soon by some other persons as well. There's catwalk, there's Beauty with a Purpose that I'm working on at the moment, and there's so much talent. I've been playing the piano with Philip Williams and Daryl Pugsley, and I'll be playing it and singing. It's just a beautiful thing, and I'm very, very excited because I've learned these things, and I can't wait to go there and to show what I've learned and to give my best. And I know once I give my best, then I'll be satisfied with my best.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Okay.
And I feel confident in asking you this tough question, because even though you're talking about the fact that you're excited and you do so much and so on, I know you can handle the critics. You've been handling it well. So this is not to bring you down, but this is the reality.
Yes.
When you were first crowned Miss Guyana World, and I know you know where I'm going with this. We heard lots of persons saying, oh gosh, I mean, to use our own local language, oh gosh, she again, she's singing, she's doing this, she and everything. What do you say to those people who feel that you have been exposed too much and Lisa Punch has just gotten too much?
Oh my God. Well, the first thing is, my mother has always told me that, Lisa, you can be everything and do anything you want to do. And when I go on these tours, that is exactly what I tell these children. Do everything, be everything. Do not limit yourself. Don't let people limit you. I know what my purpose on this earth is, and I know what I'm doing is taking me, I'm going through a journey, and everything that I've done is taking me to that road where I should be. And I'm very, very thankful for that. And I'm very thankful for my mother for telling me that, because earlier I wanted to be a teacher. So I started teaching kids when I was like 10 years old, teaching them to read and write and stuff like that. And then I wanted to be a lawyer. So I went and I started studying law. And then I said, you know what, I want to be a broadcaster. And then I went and I became a broadcaster. Then I said, you know what, I'm passionate about music. I should do music, which I am very much passionate about. And I went and I did music. And the thing is, I'm doing what I want to do. You do what you want to do. Go live your dreams. I'm living all the dreams that I ever wanted to do. So I am just being Lisa.
Perfect response. Lisa, it's almost time for me to wrap up today's program, but I can't possibly have you on this program and not talk about your music career, where you are with that, what's next for Lisa Punch in terms of music when you wrap up the pageant. What other switch can we see? Because I mean, in 10 minutes, Lisa and I just spoke about her being a teacher, a broadcaster, a lawyer, pageant girl, musician. But seriously though, after the pageant is completed, what else can we see from Lisa in terms of music?
Even during this pageant, I've gotten so much, many opportunities. I got a chance to audition for the role of the Wiz, because it's a new series. NBC will be bringing out The Wizard of Oz in December. Unfortunately, I didn't get the part, but I was very excited to audition for the part, which shows that they're considering me, and stuff like that. I did audition for American Idol because it's their final season unfortunately, I can't be there because of the
of-
pageant, and then I'll have to be in LA. So that had to be like go away, and I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I'll still keep doing my music and keep working on my music. I have an album that I'm working on. I'm working with James Bond as well, and Quasi Ace and Daryl Pugsley. So, there's a lot going on
That's
for
going
Lisa,
on.
and I'm very much passionate. I want to give everything in the best of me, and I want, when I'm gone, I want people to say she lived her life.
And you didn't waste this body. And I always
Exactly.
tell people, I feel upset when I see people live their lives in a certain way. It's like you have no respect for the
Yeah.
body and the brain that God has gifted you with. And I'm happy that you're not wasting it. You are an inspiration to so many young women and, in a sense, young men. And I want to urge you and encourage you to continue on that road. And you are just, and viewers, I'm not just saying this because she's sitting here, but Lisa Punch is indeed a sweetheart. She's human being, just like you and just like I. So I'm really, really happy for you, excited, and I want to congratulate you and encourage you to continue doing what it is that you're doing, because you've done an amazing job thus far.
Thank you so much, Malika.
You're very welcome. And of course, good luck with Beauty with a Purpose,
Yeah.
because I get very, it's one of my peeves, my pet peeves, when people talk about, oh, I'm going up for this
Yeah.
pageant, I'm focusing on this issue, and then when the pageant is done, you forgot that you
Yeah.
you were supposed to be Beauty with a Purpose,
True.
and you forgot about your purpose. Lisa Punch, thank you very much
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on
much.
today. Okay. Viewers, this is where I have to put a wrap on things for today. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for always tuning in and always supporting. I always urge you, be good Guyanese citizens, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Until next week, I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for watching.